Smells good. Smells good. Hey everybody, it's Uncle Dave. Today I'm going to do a little impromptu recipe. We're going to do some broccoli cheese soup. In here I have a 1/4 cup of oil that has started to, do its thing. To that I'm going to add the equivalent of 2 medium-sized carrots. Now, they might look a little weird. I've used some pretty narrow carrots for that. And we're also going to add 2 onions to this. Even though I do have onions, I decided that I would use some onions that I had in the freezer. And so when you do that, they do change texture a little bit and they require less cooking. So we're just going to get a head start on these carrots. I've dropped this in, and these will probably have to go about 3 minutes by themselves. So I'm going to do that. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and start on a spice mixture that will go inside this pot. We're going to put 3 tablespoons. Is that a tablespoon? Yeah. 3 tablespoons of flour. That's 3 tablespoons, give or take. These are probably fine, but I'm just going to move them around a little bit. To this, I am going to add about 3 cups of liquid. In this case, it's going to be milk. Instead of salt, I'm going to use bouillon powder, and I like to mix it at double strength. So for that, that means 2 tablespoons of bouillon powder. Now that seems like a lot, but remember, no salt. That is our salt. And to this, I'm going to crack some black pepper. And this I measure with my heart, but I like a lot. Now basically what's going to happen in here is you're going to make some bechamel sauce with some carrots and onions in it. And these are looking lovely. You can hear that they're getting a little bit more noisy. What that means is that they're releasing a little bit more water, and that's a good thing. That's exactly what you want them to do, because when they release water, they concentrate the flavor, and then, it kind of releases into the broth of your soup. Now, a bechamel sauce is equal parts fat and flour. Some of that fat might be used for these vegetables, so that's why we're going with 3 tablespoons of flour instead of 4, which would be the equal parts. Those are coming along nicely. I'm going to go ahead and put these 2 onions in here. Now you heard them. They mad. They are big mad that they're in this sauce. And oh, good. I sent these out last night, and I was afraid maybe they wouldn't be thawed out yet. But they are. They're nice and thawed out, and these won't take but a minute. But I've added quite a few things to the pot, so it may take a while to get started. I'm going to go ahead and cover this, and then I'll come back. Alright, so I just covered these long enough for the thing to start boiling again or bubbling up again, and it is doing that. There's still quite a bit of water in here, and I don't want to add my flour with the water in there because it'll clump up and it can cause clumps in the sauce. That's not the end of the world, and usually it won't. Like as the mixture heats up, it'll a lot of those clumps will go away. But it will be easier if we can get some of this water off. So let's just let this do its thing and drive off some of the water. Alright folks, she's boiling away now, and to that I'm going to add 3 cloves of garlic that I have chopped up really fine. And we will stir that in and make sure that it gets a little contact with the bottom here. And as you can see, there's still a little bit of water, but there's so much less now, which is going to be helpful when we make our sauce here. But I do want to give the chance for that garlic to cook off a little bit, and that only takes about a minute. Let's see, I got this hot plate probably 12 years ago at Aldi. I've had it forever. I tried to sell it at a garage sale for $5 and it didn't sell. Now I've moved it 3 different states, and even though I don't like to use it a lot, I'm glad that I have it, and I think I'm just going to keep it at this point. It's been through some things. So when you see this hot plate and think, dang, that's been through some things. Well, that's why, because it has. So the spice mixture and flour mixture, we're going to try to sprinkle it on top in as even a layer as possible. And you're going to see that it kind of forms what looks a little bit like a clumpy mess. And you're going to think, oh no, Uncle Dave, I have done it wrong. Well, the answer is no, you have not done it wrong. The clump is from the flour and a little bit of moisture that's still left in there, and that's okay. But you do want to give this a little bit of time. On heat like this, you're probably looking at least a minute. You want to cook the flour taste out of it, and this may stick to the bottom a little bit. Our next steps will help quite a bit. So don't worry too much about that. One thing that I like about cooking and making crafts is it's kind of about discernment. You kind of just have to look, kind of know what you're looking for and looking at to know where you're at in this dish. So you're gonna want to add just a little bit of the milk, probably a third of it, and stir. Now this, when it becomes warm, right before it starts boiling, will turn into a very thick paste. And that'll be when you know it's time to add more water. Now while you're doing this, go ahead and scrape the bottom, because all of that little flour that ended up on the bottom, you want to try to reincorporate that. That brown flour will give the soup slightly a toasty flavor. So this is all pasty and thick now. We're going to go ahead and add the other couple of cups of milk. What I'm going to put is about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half hot sauce. Why hot sauce in cheese soup, Uncle Dave? Hot sauce is a little bit of heat and then it's vinegar. So vinegar, what that does in sauces is kind of brighten it up a little bit. Cheese has that bright flavor, and since we are diluting the cheese so much, and we're also going to be using American cheese for part of this, American cheese does not have that same brightness, flavor, and basically sharpness that regular cheese has. This kind of puts a little bit of that back in there. And that's pretty much the same reason why you use this other ingredient, which is about a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Now what I'm going to be adding is 12 slices of deluxe deli American cheese. You can also use the kinds that come from the deli. I would suggest that, but a lot of times I don't have time to actually go inside the store and get that. And you want to add it about 2 at a time. Now, you'll submerge this into the sauce here that's going to become the soup, and you can still see that this is mostly together. You don't want to add your next slices until it's mostly not. We're going to go ahead and push those under. Now today, why are we using American cheese? Well, American cheese has something called stabilize. And what this does is kind of helps it keep together, because American cheese is not actually cheese in their actual definition of cheese. It's American processed cheese food product. And a lot of people get really turned off by that title. But what American cheese is cheese scraps, then they mix that with milk, and then they stabilized it into this thing that kind of looks like a brick, and then sliced it. But the reason why I'm asking you to use it here is because of the stabilizer. Cheese sauces can be very temperamental. So a little bit of stabilizer helps it be less temperamental. Now, American cheese, if you're not familiar with it, it is wonderful and melty. It does not have a very assertive flavor. And so to compensate for that, what we're going to use to go with this is some Parmesan cheese. Now this is just straight out of a bag. And then this is sharp cheddar cheese. That's the last of our 12 slices. Put this in. We're going to try to get it covered up by the liquid. Now remember when I said that cheese sauces were kind of persnickety and didn't always do what you wanted them to do? The way to avoid that is to avoid making any drastic changes with the sauce all at once. So if you put in a new ingredient, you want to wait a minute and let it get acclimated to the pot. Make sure that it's the same temperature as everything, and usually the sauce won't break. But let's talk about a broken sauce. What will that look like? Well, it'll look like little bitty balls of cheese that have separated and are floating in a sauce. It tastes fine, but texturally it is unpleasant on the tongue. You can feel the little granules. It's almost like freezer burned ice cream or something like that. So you do want to avoid it if you can, but it isn't the end of the world. A couple of things that you can do if you do break a sauce. Number one, you can re-emulsify it by adding sodium citrate, which is basically making American cheese out of the separated cheese in the sauce. The other thing would be intense stirring. So you can stir it very briskly and see if you can get it to reincorporate, or you can use something like a high-speed blender or a immersion blender. Cheddar is lovely, but it doesn't melt as well as some other cheeses. You might hear me talk on this channel a lot about how you should grate your own cheese, and this is cheese that I grated. But for a sauce like this, it does not matter, not at all. So if you want to use a combination of your own shredded cheese and regular shredded cheese that you just buy in a package already shredded, this is the time to use that. I'm gonna stop jacking my jaws and throw in this cheese here. This is about 1.5 cups, and that was about 1/2 cup of this. So 2 cups of cheese altogether. Now that that's submerged, I'm gonna go ahead and stir that in. So we'll just let this sit for a minute. Now, usually you're gonna be able to see if the sauce is broken by this time. And if it is, before you add your broccoli here, I would go ahead and put it in the blender or do the immersion blender if you think This is broke. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in these sauces we talked about earlier. There's mustard and hot sauce. Not just for fish fry, ladies and gentlemen. When I did that, I smelled I smelled vinegar mostly. So let this come back to a simmer. Once I see a few little bloop bloops, we're gonna go ahead and add about a pound of broccoli. Listen, y'all, I'm convinced that I could buy a pair of scissors for each and every one of these drawers and still not be able to find any scissors that I'm looking for. All right, I just saw a bubble. I just saw a bubble. Smells good. Smells good. So I'm gonna put 8 ounces of broccoli-ish in here. Push that under the level of the water, so that's incorporated. Now I'm gonna put the other half, another 8 ounces or so. This other pound of broccoli I'll use for a different meal. This is enough soup for 4 hungry people. And if you serve this, I would serve it with some of that Texas toast, nothing fancy, just the one that comes in the box that you can get at the grocery store. That's lovely. Crackers. Woo, she thick. She is thick. So this is all incorporated. I'm gonna cover this. I'm gonna lower it to a simmer. It will simmer for about 10 minutes, then we'll come back and I'll serve you. And we'll get to test this soup, okay? All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. Smells wonderful. Still on the tender crisp side. I'm gonna take a potato masher here. I don't want a blended soup. I like the chunks in it. Hope we make smaller pieces here. Lord, let me get it off with this because I know I'm on the dang YouTube and y'all gonna tell me about myself. Even though if I was here by myself, I would just reach into the pot. Yes, I would reach into the pot. I like to serve this in a mug, you know? I think something is nice about having soup in a mug, kind of comforting. And I won't gild the lily today and put any crackers or anything else with it, but so let's taste this. You know, I want to taste it before I give it to you, nieces and nephews. I want to make sure it's good. The flavors are spot on. I know you're wondering, does it taste like mustard and hot sauce? No, it does not. But if you ask me, if you eat the soup and you don't like it, that's your problem. That's on you. Because ain't nothing wrong with this soup. Yep. I fixed it. So if you want some broccoli soup, broccoli cheese soup, with a little bit of personality, this is for you, ladies. I think you should try this one. And I hope you enjoy it. Bye.